here is David Wilkerson's prophecy about this same event that I think we all need to heed. Vision and Beyond by David Wilkerson, page 118 and 119. I was given a prophetic message 9 years ago and delivered it to Times Square Church on September 7th, 1992. Let me share it with you now. This warning is not to scare you. It is only for you to take the Lord and pray. This is what I believe God has shown me. 30 days of chastisement will fall upon New York City, such as the world has never seen. God is going to let down the walls. There will be unimaginable violence and looting. The violence will be so ferocious that it will shock the entire world. Our streets will be lined with not just the National Guard, but with militia. 1,000 fires will burn at the same time throughout the city. The Los Angeles fires will be confined to just a few sections of that city, but New York will be ablaze in its boroughs. Times Square will be ablaze, and the flames will ascend into heaven and be seen for miles. Fire trucks will not be able to handle it all. Trains and buses will be shut down. Billions of dollars will be lost. Broadway shows will stop completely. Businesses will flee the city in an unstoppable hemorrhage. Such scenes are expected in third world countries, but not in a civilized nation like the United States. Yet, not too long a time afterwards, New York City will completely go bankrupt. The Queen City will be cast into the dirt, becoming a city of poverty. Yet, when it does, God's people are not to panic or fear. Just a little glimpse into that time period of earthquakes is another prophecy from David Wilkerson. The Vision and Beyond by David Wilkerson, page 28 and 29. Earthquakes coming to the United States. The United States is going to experience in the not-too-distant future the most traumatic earthquake in history. One day soon, this nation will be reeling under the impact of the biggest news story of modern times. It will be covered to the biggest, most disastrous earthquake in modern history. The earthquake will cause widespread panic and fear. Without a doubt, it will become one of the most completely reported earthquakes ever. Television networks will suspend all programming and carry all-day coverage. Another earthquake, possibly in Japan, will precede the one that I see coming here. There is not the slightest doubt in my mind about the forthcoming massive earthquake on our continent. I believe it will be many times more severe than the San Francisco earthquake. It will be so high in the Richter scale that it will trigger 2 other massive earthquakes. So, let's take all this. 2012, the U.S. will be reeling from the earthquakes around the world, and especially in the U.S. If the earthquakes are as powerful as many are predicting them to be, over 7 in the Richter scale, then the New Madrid earthquake, either this year or next, will be an all-consuming on the networks, and our nightly dramas and melodramas will be canceled as God takes center stage. That means no TV shows. By the middle of the end of 2012, this prophecy will be normal standard for the United States. The main question that arises out of these events is, do the prophecies of these 3 comets hitting the United States, specifically Florida, happen before or after the New Madrid fault coming apart? And that is the main reason why I have pushed the 2 events together. Here is the prophecy page that deals with these 3 comets and the events that follow. Dimitri Duduman also has gone over these 3 comets as well in his prophecy, and how horrible these events will be. Only one prophecy tells that tale. This is why I'm warning everyone now to get your lives right with God, because starting from 2010, it's only going to get worse. A very good article dealing with the next 7 years and what news articles to expect from the newspapers in these times, including the solar maximums, CMEs, one of which is prophesied to take out both satellites and electronic devices. It talks about how the time zones will change due to something unforeseen in the heavens. It also talks about martial law in certain states because of the wickedness and lawlessness, as the federal government is unable to help us more and more. God is rendering every one of our idols, the things we trust in more than Him, useless. We will only have our trust in Him at the very end of all this. Now, I'm going to read a short Bible verse. I think everybody needs to heed this before I go into what about Obama. All right? Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are His, and He changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep secrets. He knoweth what is in darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. Daniel 2:20-23. Now I'm going to start again. As for Obama and his presidency in 2011, 2013, maybe even 2014 year period, God has a plan for him as well. Before I get into prophecy on Obama, I want America to know that God picks our kings, queens, presidents. There's no other way around. You have to think that God is the sovereign God, a God who even created the devil, and his plan for the devil was to test his chosen people. And everything the devil does, God already knew he would do, because he allowed it to happen. The devil knows he can't beat God, so his last resort is to bring God's creation, us and humanity, with him to hell. Everything the devil does to us is a test of God, to see our reactions. This is why God is sovereign, because he is omnipotent and knows everything. He is the only one with a plan, and the devil only plays catch-up because he knows only knows impending consequences, not the near future ones. God does not share his throne. Obama, for the most part, in my belief, has two possible ways for his presidency will end. I'm not making threats in any way, but just saying what's already been written in Bible code and foreseen in prophecy. Bible code usually does not lie. As such, it states that Obama will be assassinated, as this prophecy states. See this prophecy for more proof. I think this will happen after Nibiru and Wormwood is seen. It is up to God as to when, but it could be the next election cycle, or it could be after he is elected president again. I put it around 2013, possibly 2014, in September by Al-Qaeda. Like the prophecy says, he will be replaced with a man from Europe, white with slick black hair, Russian. Let's all pray and hope that Obama truly is humbled by God and repents. It would be in America's best interest for this to happen. As often as I pray that Obama will turn to God and do what God wants him to do, we all know as human beings we choose our own destinies. We either do what God puts us here to do, or we turn away from him and do what we want to do. My gut feeling is this goes south. Obama continues to listen to the New World Order. Nibiru Wormwood happens in 2012, and Obama is fired assassinated, which would throw my timeline off a little. Shortly before the end of 2012 to the beginning of 2013, the situation in the Middle East will be over with. A new U.S. conflict will emerge that this prophecy talks about, which start America's real sorrows, and even the interview is a hoax. Even if the interview is a hoax, it will happen in almost the same way described as shown in this prophecy. This event will probably lead to Obama declaring we need Obamacare, and Obamacare will be passed by 99% of the House and Senate. This event could happen up to 2014. Then shortly after, this prophecy has a high probability of occurring, which is the mark of the beast. Something I've known in my heart for a while now is that the NWO are so scared of Nibiru Wormwood that they're going to use Obama to make one last attempt to destroy the dollar. This time we are going to see the dollar collapse as much as 70%. It will be a super dollar devaluation as we've never experienced before, much worse than the Great Depression of the 20s. David Wilkerson's dream here tells the story. Macy's raped. David Wilkerson's economic vision. Key points to remember about this vision. 1. From the time the first country goes down, you'll have 2 weeks to get your money out of the bank. America will come through this crisis, there will be restoration, but the nation will never be as it was before. God is saying, get our lives straight, get rid of idols, seek the face of God in holiness. God will be a wall of fire about you and the glory in the midst of you. It's about to happen. Very soon, our nation, and I'm speaking prophetically, if I've ever heard anything from God in my life, I've heard it. Very soon, a European or North African or Eastern nation is going to default on its international loan. And when that happens, within 2 weeks, Mexico is going to default. Mexico owes $100 billion, 80% of American banks. And here's what is going to happen. About 2 weeks after the first country goes bankrupt, we're going to survive that, because most of that money of the first country is owed to the European banks, Germany, Swiss, and French banks. But a second country is going to go down, probably Argentina or Brazil, and we'll kind of live that down and say, well, maybe it's not going to hurt. But 2 weeks after the first country goes down, Mexico is going to default on $100 billion. And when the banks open the next day at 9 in the morning, $15 billion an hour is going to be withdrawn from our American banks. They're going to be running our banks, the Arabs, all the Latin American countries, they're going to be running our banks. And before the day is over, the U.S. is going to have to declare a bank holiday. 6 months of horror. And we're going into 6 months, the worst hell America has ever seen. There's going to be chaos. Not even the National Guard is going to be able to quiet it down. We're going to have to call out the whole U.S. Army. Now I've had visions recently, for I've been in New York City and I was in Macy's in a vision, and I saw people walking around stunned because they couldn't get their money out of the bank. Now I'm going to give you a word of advice. The first country goes bankrupt. I've documented this and I've got it sealed in an envelope, and I'm going to call all my friends and I'm telling you, this is the first time I've said at public meeting like this, but the first country that bellies up, you go get every dime you have. Church, get your money out of the bank, because there's going to be a bank holiday and you won't be able to get a dime for 6 months. Now, of course, things are going to be restored, but the nation will never be like it is again. There's going to be fear like we've known, judgment at the door. When I was at Macy's department store in a vision, and I watched people walking around stunned, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was happening. Then a bunch of people walked into Macy's and suddenly went wild and began to steal. Within an hour, I saw the spirit of everybody in the store. They are robbing and stealing. They raped Macy's and destroyed 5 floors. Macy's was raped and ruined in a period of an hour or two. That's just the beginning, folks. It's all in the Bible. We've been warned and warned and warned. You can't tell me God hasn't warned us. You can't tell me God isn't saying something awesome here tonight in this church. We better get our prayer lives straightened up, our lives straightened up, get rid of the idols, as Paul writes, and seeking the face of God in holiness, or you're not going to be ready for what's coming. God's warning, get ready, and you're not to fear the things that come on you, and you'll start rejoicing. You'll not be afraid because your hands will be clean. You'll be praying, and God's building a wall of fire around you to keep you. We like to teach you a song about God's protection. It goes like this. There's a wall of fire around me. There's a wall of fire between my soul and the enemy. There's a wall of fire that you can't see between my soul and the enemy. There's a wall of fire around me. Maybe so with all of us. 2012 to 2015, Nibiru. Something bad this way comes. The coming woes. The Black Cloud World Event and mega hurricanes. When we all see Nibiru wormwood after Obama's super dollar devaluation, this will be when the wicked ones fill the cup of inequity, and this will begin a world judgment, as the worst U.S. judgments will soon follow. The judgments that happen after Nibiru wormwood are going to frighten a lot of people. Do not be frightened, but know that Jesus Christ is soon to come, and these events are getting all of us ready to walk with Him in heaven. In my opinion, which varies a little from the prophecies, I think the New Madrid earthquake, Pasadena earthquake are very close, within 2 years or so. I do not believe America will be invaded at this time, as God has changed some of His plans. John Taylor's prophecy of just one of these disasters stricken in our nation is shocking and needs to be read and understand the gravity of the time this happens in. I also ask people to refer to the prophecies at the end of this speech to see more plagues and diseases to come that confirm what John Taylor is saying is true. By this time, Obama will be out of office, and another president from Europe will have taken the Oval Office. Not too long before a mega hurricane event, a black cloud event will happen. I believe this event to happen in 2013 and 2014. This will be the event that will be caused by the New World Order. It will happen right after the earthquakes in the U.S., or it could happen right before the hurricanes, but it has to be within that time frame. Here's the prophecy of the black cloud, which on my website I've labeled Highly Important Prophecy for Christians. Open Vision, Middle East Pastor John W. Mattis. I expect the black cloud even to happen around 2015. Here is the same event described by Dimitri Duduman. Linda Lomax of Wings of Prophecy gave Christians the same vision just a few short months before this report was together. If you want a glimpse of what the cloud will look like, God has given us an ash cloud event in Iceland earlier in 2010 that I think will closely resemble what it will be like worldwide. This will end the world economies and will give the actual European NWO time to plot a takeover of the United States in secret. Russia at this time will give their entire land to China. Dimitri Duduman prophesies this. I want to read this prophecy because it's significant to this time period.